guys. Can you see me?
Hello. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Hi. Oh, hi. I can't see myself. So if you guys can't see me, make sure you tell me, okay?
We can see you.
Okay. 9 o'clock. So we're going to get started. Hey, Michelle. She left me. You guys can see me though, right?
Yes.
Yep.
I can see you guys great. Hi, Linda.
Hi.
Oh, this is cool. You guys all rotate up so I can see you as I rotate, your faces rotate. Right. So for you guys at the table and coming in, popping in through video, you don't have to tell me right this second, but if you did not receive every thread that's on that list, make sure you call me after or send me a text. I know I already did. I know Pam, I can see her connecting. I did get an email that I did miss a thread for somebody. I already sent that out. The one thing I did want to mention, because a couple of you did mention it, the thread list says 100 yards of snow, okay? You may not have 100 yards of snow. Some of you got 2 of these, okay? And it says 40 yards of snow, so that's 80. That's not 100, I know that, okay? But this was the thread that we were waiting for, and they come in 100 yards skeins. That's what never came in, but we were able to get the 40s. So you may have 2 of these. This is a 10-yard skein. You may have gotten 8 or 9 of these. Okay, we gathered them from whatever store we could get them from, just so we could get class going. I used 100-yard skein, and I had about 28 yards left. So you don't need 100. Okay, you should have plenty left over, even if you only got 80. Okay, so I know the thread list says 100. I know you didn't get 100, but
Oops. We lost all.
With that being said, if you use 80, okay, does that make sense? That was the first thing I wanted to mention, because I know that's not make sense.
Yes.
Everybody? Okay, so I know I'm going to toss this to you. Are you ready? Oh, I'm sorry. And then this was yours. Okay, so love the canvas. Does everybody love it?
Yes.
Okay. Yay! Did anybody start it?
I know.
No. Lorraine, well done. Okay.
Well, I had COVID, so I was stuck at home.
How are you feeling?
Better, thanks.
Okay, good. So I'll tell you what. Okay, so I started on the background because Lorraine always told me that I needed to start with the white, right? Okay, I'll tell you why. Well, there's several reasons why, because you should start with the white. But as you can see with this canvas, we don't have a lot of excess around the trees, okay? Especially at the end, which I haven't done yet, which we'll talk about at the end when we do finishing, that we do have to do a binding stitch when we get this made into a pillow. So you can't go all the way to the edge, because we do need to do a binding stitch at the end for the finisher to make this into a pillow. If that doesn't make any sense to you right now, don't worry about it. But I wanted to talk about where I started and how I did this. I did not want a compensating stitch. I did not want to compensate right on top of, I did not want a whole row of compensating stitches.
Can you see the, I can't see the kind of up. Oh, maybe it's, okay.
Can you see it?
Then
Okay.
we can't see you. Okay.
So what I did is I kind of counted out a bit. I'm sorry, I can't really, I gotta put my glasses on. So what I did was I started right on top of the tree, so there wouldn't be any compensating on the tree. Does that make sense? So I did my first stitch right on top of the tree. right on top of this tree right here. Okay. And then I did 1, 2, 3 rows above it. So I didn't start in the corner. I just started right above this tree. And then I went all the way across. And then I knew, and then I also went 4 stitches across from the edge of, can you guys see this tree? Tell me if you can't.
Yep. Yes.
From the edge of this first tree, okay?
Can you just move that closer?
Sure.
So that was a full stitch.
So you started at the top and then you went to the left edge?
No. What I did, I kind of fast forwarded through that. So what I did is I started here.
Right.
And I did this first stitch.
Uh-huh.
And I kind of then went across.
Oh, okay.
And then I kind of went out.
Okay.
But I didn't quite know how far out to go yet. I did a few. So I'm kind of fast forwarding you. I wasn't quite sure how far out to go. So I did 4 from here.
Wait, hold it up. 4 from the corner.
From that corner.
From that corner.
Now,
okay.
I say that, but now everybody's canvas might be a bit different. So for you, although you might not have that much room, mine might be, now you guys all probably have about as much, you guys should have similar room on yours. Mine might be a little different because I think I got mine maybe a little bit before yours.
See,
you might only have room for maybe even 2 because you have to do a binding stitch. Don't worry about that. Just fit a couple of stitches. And if you have questions about it, just ask me or send me a text. You guys all have send me a picture of your stitch. And if you want, maybe that's a good place to start, right off the corner of that green tree. Maybe that's where you want to start. Do that stitch and then go up. The only reason I wanted to start at the top of that tree is I did not want compensating stitches on the top of that tree. I wanted it to be a nice, perfect stitch right where your eye goes at the top of this tree. And then if there was going to be a compensating stitch here, then there would be a compensating stitch here. I did not want that. I wanted a nice, perfect stitch all the way across the top.
So
that's why
I tassel go on top of a
I did the
stitch?
Yes.
Okay.
And you don't have to do that tassel. That's later on in the stitch guide if you read it. And I will probably redo that. I just kind of wanted to see how it looked. So anyway.
Oh, it's super cute.
So let's also talk about this stitch. Okay. My stitch is a little different than the stitch guide, than what's in the stitch guide. I did the stitch wrong. Okay.
My favorite kind of stitch.
Okay.
Wrong. I like that wrong stitch.
It's the same stitch, but instead of I think in the stitch guide, it shows, because on that 3rd page in red letters, in stitching, there are no mistakes. It's your own unique creation. I was not ripping it out when I realized I did it wrong. This is my unique creation. Okay, in the stitch guide, it shows that last stitch goes from right to left. Do you see where it says 7 to 8?
Yeah.
So that last stitch should go from right to left. My last stitch goes from top to bottom. Okay, no big deal. Instead of going across, mine goes from the top to the bottom. It doesn't matter. Just keep it consistent the whole way through. So it's still a road stitch. It's still the same stitch. It's just which is the last part of the stitch. Okay.
Yes.
So it makes no difference, even if the last stitch is going left to right or right to left, or however, whatever it is.
So it's all the same.
Just keep it consistent throughout the entire background. And as you start to stitch, you'll know what I'm talking about. So it's still a road stitch. Mine just goes, and you may decide that's what you want to do. It does give it a little more horizontal look to it, rather a little more vertical look rather than horizontal.
Ah.
So decide, maybe that's how you want to do it. That's always how I've done my road stitch. It's not, I didn't even realize I made a mistake, if you want to know the truth, until I put the stitch guide together and I was like, ooh, I do my road stitch wrong. So anyway, so be it. That's what it is. That's how I do my road stitches.
So where 8 is, you did 5?
So what I do is I went 1 to 2, 3 to 4, and then I do 8 to 7, and then 5 to 6. So I just switch.
Stitches 5 to 6 instead of 7 to 8.
Correct.
8 to 7.
Correct. You can choose to do it that way. You can choose not to do it that way. That's totally up to you. That's just how I probably taught myself. So
and
anyway.
Kristen, what direction do you do the stitches in? So after you've done the first stitch, where's the next number 1? Where the 3 is?
No, then the next number 1, you mean when you move to the next stitch, where is it?
Yeah.
Then you share the same hole. You would share that 3 hole.
Okay.
As you're moving to the right.
And what would you do then with your take on it? Same thing?
Then I would go, yes, then I
okay.
would, yes. Now you can also do this stitch. You can move down if you want. You don't have to go like you're reading a book left to right. You can go down if you want, or you can move across. I don't think it matters.
Obviously, it just has to be even on both sides and top and bottom.
And guess what? If it's not even on both sides, the finisher will make it even for you.
No, I'm just saying, however number of stitches you're doing from this tree has to be the same for that tree.
Correct. But if you do an extra one on this side, when it goes to the finisher, they'll make sure that it's even on both sides.
Gotcha. Okay.
So, and
conversely, 3 would be where the 1 is if you're going to the left.
Say that again.
If you're going left, if you're going right to left, where the 1 is would be the 3rd.
Correct.
For the next.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. So, just keep your stitches consistent each time you do them. Otherwise, you will notice the variation in them. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay.
And you need to keep going one way or the other. If you're going to go across, it has to be across all the way.
Yes.
You can't go up.
Yeah. Otherwise, you will notice that they're a little bit different. Right. Does that make sense? Okay. No silly question.
Well, if you go left to right, do you come back right to left, or you start again?
You can kind of move back and forth. I don't think it really matters. I would kind of I would go across and then I might move down a little bit. I don't think it really matters.
As long as you're keeping your
X's the same. Now, I think for most of us, we're going to make it into a pillow. And I will tell you, the way I saw this pillow finished, it became an inset pillow. So it didn't matter that there wasn't a ton of room on the side because they put some really cute fabric on the side. So it didn't matter that there wasn't a ton of room on the side. Okay. So don't worry about that if there isn't a ton.
Do you have a picture of that finished pillow?
I might, that I can show. I can, and it was in this really pretty red Christmas plaid. So cute. Okay. So cute. Okay. So, and then the tree trunks is a simple upright cross unless you guys have more questions on the background.
So are you saying we have to do the entire background before we start the trees?
I would suggest it.
Okay.
I would suggest it. I would get it all done. Now, with that being said, there will be compensation around the trees. And that
what do you mean when you say
compensation means just you won't be able to do a complete stitch. And I will explain it after, as soon as we stop recording. You won't be able to do a whole stitch. You'll just, you won't be able to get it all done. I'll show you after class. And with that being said, if anybody, whether you're virtual or here in class, I am always available by phone, text, video chat, however you guys want it, for anything. Yes, anything. Can we move to tree trunks?
Sure.
It's just a vertical upright cross that fits into each other. And I picked a wool because I didn't want it to be shiny, and I kind of wanted it to be kind of nubby and knobby, kind of looking like a tree trunk. You think you did it right? And it's one of those things where if you make a mistake on this stitch, you won't notice because it's very hidden. You can't tell if you miss a stitch because the brown canvas will show through. You won't tell. It's very forgiving with this stitch. This is one of the threads that I cut. It should be in a bag. You should have plenty for that. And they're all the same. They kind of fit tightly together. The T's, the upright cross. And then the last thing we're going to do today is this tree number 1. And what I want to talk about is that I showed you an example of the stitch, but I manipulated the stitch a little bit from what is shown in the stitch. The way the stitch next to this tree shows 3 stitches across and 3 stitches down, which is very equal. 3 across, 3 down, 3 across, 3 down. But in my tree, I wanted it to have a more vertical look. So I went 3 across, and then I went 4 down. And I wrote that underneath the tree. If you see, because I didn't want it to have an equal look going across and down. So I went 3 across, 3 down.
4 down.
4 down, sorry, thank you. Also, in the stitch picture, it shows going across 2 needle point intersections. Do you see where it says Byzantine stitch? You can see it. In the tree itself, you'll go over 3 needle point intersections. I couldn't find a Byzantine stitch where it was going over 3 I'm going to get up and show you guys that are here. So this going over 2 intersections, you're actually going to go over 1, 2, 3. So you'll go over 3 instead of 2. Make sense? Yeah. Does that make sense, you guys? Yeah. Any questions?
Did you stitch all the silk and ivory and then go back with the entice? Or did you do?
I did row by row because
okay.
This little pea brain that I have gets a little confused.
I was worried for my own pea brain.
You're in good company.
So I would do the way I did this is I started this silk and ivory right here where I knew that I could set the pattern. It was right in the middle of this green right here. So I could set my pattern right here. And then I did the sparkly above it and I did the sparkly below it. So I knew I could set my pattern. Okay.
But you had to count up then to make sure that you had enough to do a row up here, right?
Well, I knew that I was going to have to compensate up here, and this was a complete row, but I knew that this way I could set my pattern.
So did you just kind of start anywhere?
I just picked a place to start. Didn't matter.
Okay.
And then once I set my pattern here, I did the sparkly above it. I did the sparkly below it. And then this is the only place in this tree where it gets a little confusing, where it changes colors. You keep the pattern going, you just change the color. Okay, that's the only, but now remember, if you make a mistake, no big deal. It's your creation. If the color doesn't line up exactly, it's okay. Or if you have a question, come on in or call me. We can work on it. But that's the only part that's a little confusing, is where the color changes. And the sparkly is always, it's always the same color. But the way I did it is I did the Byzantine stitch to set my pattern. Then I did the sparkly row, and then I did my next Byzantine. So that was a great question. Some people would probably do the Byzantine, but I lose track if I don't do that one little tent stitch in between it. Make sense?
That's just single, right?
That's just a single sparkly,
okay.
one stitch in between it. So does that make sense to everybody? How about questions, concerns, thoughts?
I took a picture of your canvas.
Okay.
If I started at the tip.
If you start at the
like
top.
Yours.
Which, the tree?
Yeah, it should line up.
It should line up, unless the canvas was painted slightly different. It should.
Okay.
So my thought is next week, probably.
We're supposed to have the back.
Oh, no, yeah. Next week, I expect you to be do all of this. Okay. Hey guys, so next week class is gonna be Tuesday. So all this has to be done by Tuesday. No. So next Tuesday, not next Friday, next Tuesday, but you're going to get a different Zoom meeting ID because it's not on a Friday. So you will get a new email from me.
Okay.
So next Tuesday and then the following Tuesday. Okay. And then we'll kind of see if we need one more class, but my thought is to do a couple more trees next week, and then maybe finish with Santa and finishing on the last day. If we feel we need to add another class, maybe we'll do that. Maybe give you guys a couple of weeks to do some stitching and then do a final class about finishing, and then maybe questions.
I could see this taking 6 months.
Oh, you don't have to, you don't have to have it finished.
But you can pull up the Zoom on YouTube if you're not able to do the
Absolutely. So
okay.
good question. So if you're not able to join us live, all of the classes will go up on YouTube. Michelle will have them up here this afternoon. You can rewatch. And if you want close-ups of anything, text me, call me. I can send you close-ups of background, tree trunks, trees, whatever you want. Take your time. There's no rush. We know we're not getting it back in time for Christmas this year. So we've got to get this done for next year. So no hurry. What do you guys think?
Good.
All good?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you guys for joining me this morning. Any questions, just call me.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Happy
Bye.
stitching, everyone.
See ya.
So you're right, I'm only going to be able to get
Here.
Yeah, I mean, I think I can only get 2 in here.